Hello everybody, welcome back. I'm the Strategy Professor, and today we're going to be looking at a preview for patch 10.12. So this is not the actual patch notes for 10.12, but people are asking me about this on the stream. What do I think about these upcoming changes? What do I think about these other changes? So I figured I'll just go ahead and do one halfway through patch 10.11. We'll just talk about what they're planning for 10.12. So this is going to be hopefully a relatively short video, 10 to 15 minutes or so, just talking about some of these basic changes and what I think about them. Okay. And be sure to check out the rest of the content on the channel as well. We do real patch notes when they release, usually on release day, and then we do tier lists for support and jungle every patch. And I might start doing the all-roll tier list again if we can get enough viewership to support that. And then every night we stream starting around 11 p.m. or midnight. We usually go till about 4 or 5 a.m. I've been playing support and jungle lately, so come on by, hang out, chill, have some fun. It's a very friendly, welcoming community. I try to explain as much as I can about what's going on in the game and some of my decisions and some alternate decisions that I could have made, as well as hold a conversation with the chat about League or any other random conversations that people want to talk about. So come by, check it out. It's a good time. Okay, so let's go through these changes here. All right, so system-wide, Cloud Rift, movement speed in wind areas increased by 35% when out of combat. And there's Scryer's Blooms outside of base gates and a Scryer's Bloom near the Tri-Bush. Okay, I mean, that's fine. I do like stuff that helps out with macro a little bit. I think that rewards thoughtful players that are planning ahead. It's obviously going to reward split pushers and just try to break up the ARAM. You know, everyone's still going to ARAM in middle at, like, you know, platinum and gold. But I like the idea that they are allowing stuff. So obvious winners there are going to be things like Trundle, Fiora, Singed would be a huge one. So just like anything that wants to be able to rotate a lot. Nunu is going to be huge too. Because if you're out of combat and you're on one of these wind shrines and you start your snowball, you get to keep that movement speed the entire time that you're snowballing. So you're going to come flying in, and you can really use that as an accelerant to engage team fights if they don't have any really good way to peel you out of that snowball. It's going to be very difficult for them to avoid that engage. It's the same premise as like the Scuttle, using the Scuttle to boost up your early ganks on Nunu, but now it's going to be even faster kind of in the mid game with Cloud Rift. So I think that's interesting. As far as Scryer's Blooms, that means that Vision's going to be a lot tougher to keep down on the map, so that's going to open up ganking a lot more. Yeah, I think overall that's good. I do wish that they would add back in Tracker's Knife. If they're going to add in Umbral Glaive or whatever, Umbral Blade, whatever the thing is that gives a free sweeper, and they're going to add in like more Scryer's Blooms, and then they've got, you got Sweeper, you've got Fiddlesticks' Effigies. There's all kinds of stuff that shuts out Vision, so I wish they would add back in Tracker's Knife, but whatever. Cool, I like it. All right, Infernal Riff, Blast Cone near the Gromp camp, and a Blast Cone outside the base gates. The base gates one is interesting. That's definitely going to bait a lot of people to try to dive with that. So, I mean, I guess that's one more tool that you can use to try to break open bases and start fights. So that's a risky one. I think it's cool. I like the Blast Cones. I know some people aren't a big fan of the plants, but I think in general they make for exciting plays, either good getaways or clutch moves. Like, I think they're points of focus, they're points of interest, and I think in general more points of interest is a good thing on the map. Now, you know, there are diminishing returns to that, but I think that's cool. And then and near the Gromp camp, I thought they were adding something down. They need to add something, honestly, into the little lane alcoves or whatever, because those just very rarely get used. The only time people go in the alcoves most of the time is they're just trying to get away from something and they end up dying anyways. So you can use them for gank setup sometimes, but I wish they would put something in there. Like a neutral monster would be cool that you have to fight over, like a Gromp or something like that. I think that would be fun, people fighting over that. I mean, maybe you could put a Blast Cone in that. That would actually be kind of cool, that you could blast over that and maybe get an even better engage. So just something like that, either a Blast Cone in there, maybe a Scryer's Bloom in there, just something that makes people want to fight over that mid lane thing. That might just snowball a little bit too hard, though, if that happens. Might give the team that already has a push advantage even more of an advantage. Although I would argue some of the like most powerful and potentially toxic ADCs right now are just okay losing the lane, as long as they have an enchanter at their back and they scale pretty well. So like Ezreal and Vayne. So I think it is hard for some of the punishing AD carries to get enough of an advantage right now, to justify overcoming some of these like scaling team comp type of things, right? That's why you're seeing stuff like Draven fall off a little bit, Misfortune fall off a little bit. So I don't know. It'd be something to tinker around with. I wish they would, if they want to mess with the map in general and they want to mess with some of these plants or just try to make more points of interest, I would try to do the lane stuff in the alcoves just to make them more relevant. But that's fine. More blast cones, fine. Obviously, that's going to help ganking even more near the Gromp camp. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that'll help out ganking and different moves a little more. Okay, Ghost Summoner spell. Get the movement speed 28 to 45. Now it's going to 20 to 40. Okay, they're removing the ramp up. That could potentially be very OP, that you just press this and it's instant 20% movement speed to 40% movement speed, and the cooldown's going up a little bit, but now you get an extra 4 to 7 seconds whenever you get a kill on somebody. I mean, they better nerf Darius. I don't see any Darius nerfs here, because he's the biggest abuser right now of Ghost. So, I mean, he's already like a huge problem in like gold and platinum. He's like the second most banned champ, I think, just behind Yuumi, and seems really OP on him. Someone like Singed would probably like this as well. I mean, people could even use this to escape quite a bit. I mean, there's a lot of champs that would like to just instantly have 20 to 40% movement speed. Maybe even something like Rise would like this. I mean, maybe like Phase Rush already like gives people a lot of power though. Hecarim would like it. I mean, there might be a lot of champions that potentially could like this. I mean, that much movement speed. Anyone that wants to stick in. Olaf. My God, can you imagine Olaf with this thing getting resets 47 seconds if he takes Ghost? And it's instant 20 to 40% movement speed. I mean, Phase Rush is already like pretty OP, right? And so this thing seems a little strong. Seems a little on the strong side, I think. But we'll see. I just think that I don't know why it has to have the 4 to 7 seconds extra duration, like for resets. It's just asking for certain champions like Darius to snowball. So a lot of champs that can be kited, where you know the main way that you deal with them is to kite them, could potentially end up getting really OP here. So I don't really like that change that much. I think that's really dangerous. I like adding diversity to summoner spells, so that's cool, but that could be a little too good. Okay, especially on some of those bruisery type of champions. All right, Guardian. So much longer range. That's good for range Guardian. So good for someone like a Rakan, or I guess just tanks that don't have traditional shields, like Braum or something maybe. Now it has to be 75 to 200 damage in the last 2.5 seconds, or lethal damage, so they can't just chip it with like an auto attack. But I mean, if someone already puts a quick trade on you, just like auto, and it triggers it, you might miss out on some shield damage too. So I don't know, even if it does get triggered prematurely in the lane, it still blocks damage a lot of time, like a decent chunk of damage. So I'm not really sure. Now they're removing the movement speed as well. It's a bigger shield later, but I mean, it's mostly supports taking that, so like stuff that scales is not as good on supports because they don't really get over level 13 in a lot of games. I think this is a nerf. because you're just going to take a lot more chip damage in lane. Yes, you're not going to proc your Guardian as much, but it's not going to be procced as much, right? So you're not going to get as many, like it's going to be there when you need it most on, like, super all-ins, but it's going to be a lot easier just to poke you and your ADC down. Not having that movement speed is actually a really big deal, too, so I don't know. It seems kind of rough. Rakan might end up taking another summoner off of this because that movement speed is huge. And he already doesn't really like everything in the in that tree, conditioning tree. I mean, maybe he goes for new Predator or something. I don't know. I have to think about it. I mean, Airy historically has been pretty decent on him as well. So we'll see. I mean, I kind of like what they're doing. They want to clarify that this is for, like, an all-in situation, but to me, like, removing the movement speed is rough. They should, I don't know, maybe they should give out, like, some resistances or something with it, like 20/20 armor magic resist. I mean, that kind of does what Aftershock does, but on a support. If they wanted to make it where you're not mobile, but, like, it's going to be harder to kill you, or just make the shield bigger, just make it like 100 to 200 or something like that. I don't know. Okay, Predator cooldown 150 to 100 goes down. Wow, 50 seconds lower. 100 to 70 damage is lower. Okay, so significantly lower damage, but much lower cooldown, so you can do it more often. And there's no cooldown at the start of the game. I don't think anyone would want to start boots. I mean, I guess you could, but, like, most people just get it on their first back. People who get Predator, who have gotten Predator in the past. Okay, grants 67. Okay, so accelerates to 45% over 1.5 seconds while moving toward enemy champions. Now, is that you have to be moving towards them while you accelerate, or is that for the entire 45%? So it's no longer channel, so it can't be interrupted. But I think it means that you only get it while you're moving towards enemy champions. So you can't just start Predator and run away, basically. So there is no channel activation. It only lasts for up to 10 seconds. Okay, so you can't just, like, use it to run across the map and just, like, rotate somewhere really quickly, because I've done that before and I used to try out Predator on different champs. Deals damage and ends the hunt against enemy champions. Only deals damage and ends the hunt against enemy. Could you... Okay. So if you hit a minion or something, then it doesn't end it. A nice quality of life, I guess. For some champs. Maybe Nunu or something can roll through minions now with a snowball without ending it. Although he's already going to be going max speed. Channeled activation. Now what I want to know is, are they going to take off the warning sign over somebody's head that someone's coming in with Predator? If they take off that warning sign, I think that would actually be really massive to help out Predator. Because that's the biggest thing with me, is people get warning that you're coming in as Predator. So especially if you're a jungler trying to take this, like I've tried this on Fiddlesticks, you can do this on Nunu, you can do this on a lot of different champs, but it gives people that little warning over their head, and they know that you're coming and they can just back up. And so it kind of, to me, defeats the whole purpose of it. So I would like to see them get rid of that warning sign. I don't know if they're going to do it. I feel like the channel, I didn't get interrupted a lot. I mean, you wouldn't try to activate it in combat anyways. I guess now you could, to run some, so you can start a fight and then you can activate this to try to run somebody down during combat, if you want to, and they're not going to be able to stop you. So maybe, I mean, maybe you could put this on something like I don't think you do it on something like a Darius, but just something that gets kited in combat a lot, since they can't interrupt it. It's basically like Ghost, right? If you're just trying to use it aggressively, it's basically Ghost on a much lower cooldown. So you could take this and Ghost on Darius. And if they flash, you're still going to run them down. I guess the difference here is once you deal damage to them. Okay, so that wouldn't work, because once you deal damage, it cancels it. So, I don't know. Probably better than it was. It doesn't do as much damage, but you can use it more often to gank. Presumably. It'd be interesting on Rakan. Doesn't do as much damage, but I don't know. You lose the movement speed once you do the damage. Rakan doesn't usually have a hard time getting on people. I don't know. It's interesting change. They're trying to make it more relevant. I hope if they took away the little thing on top of it, I think it would help a lot with certain champions and ganking. Like I really like this on Fiddlesticks, but the problem is it gives too much away when you're trying to gank someone out of a bush. Okay, unflinching. 10% tenacity. I liked it on Fiddle, by the way, just so you could position well, so you could show up and like walk around and get into a good position to use your ult. In like sticky situations. Okay, gain 10 tenacity resistance and slow resistance increased to 30% based on missing health. Okay. That's too strong. I feel like unflinching's already good. So when you're missing health, it goes up to 30% tenacity. I mean, that's going to be like really strong on tank, like Nunu, Mundo, stuff that could be missing a lot of health. I don't know. Did it need to be changed? I thought it was already pretty good. Okay. Taste of Blood, sure. Approach velocity is now nerfed. So it used to be 15% against anything that was impaired, and now it's 7.5% movement speed towards enemies you impaired and lower. I mean, Senna uses this, I guess. Mundo, like there's very, very few champions that I know of that use approach velocity. Maybe Ashe. Did it really need to be nerfed? I don't know. I guess it's not going to affect that many champions, so sure. Okay, so Vera's 80 per level, down a small amount. Q. Okay, so now it's a maximum of 1.65 total AD versus 1.5, so a little bit of nerf to his charged up arrow damage. That's fine. I mean, he's really strong in pro. Like, he's okay in solo queue. I think the Legolas build, the lethality sniper build, a lot of people are just really bad with it in like normal elo brackets. Platinum, gold, silver. So that's probably fine. Is that going to completely take him out of the meta? I mean, it's 0.15, but it is total attack damage, so, like, every 100 attack, including your base, so every 100 attack damage, you're losing 15 damage off of that. I think it'll still probably be pretty good. Okay, Yasuo. Base HP, so he's losing 33 HP, level 1. That's a lot. He's losing 20 shield, level 1. That's basically 53 damage, level 1. Or 53 health, level 1. That's a lot. And then his cooldown is going up on Windwall by 4 seconds. And I'm pretty sure you max that last. That's a permanent 4 seconds. I mean, you don't use that more than once in most fights. I mean, in fights where, I mean, you don't even really get a lot of CDR with him, right? Like, it's either 2 crit items, usually like Phantom Dancer, Infinity Edge, or sometimes they get like Blade the Ruined King somewhere in there, but you're not getting like Triforce or anything. So it's pretty much always going to be maximum, cooldown, and it's like, is it really going to make that much of a difference, that it's on cooldown for 26 seconds or 30 seconds, right? I mean, maybe that does come up in like poke situations where, they bait that out of you, and then they get an extra, 4 seconds to try to, make something out of that window of vulnerability, but I don't think that's going to matter that much. However, the damage, that's really big. So that means that, like, against other, like, really aggressive early game champs, you could punish him hard. So, like, a Darius, Pantheon, Garen, Riven. I think there's a lot of stuff, like, other melee champs that are just going to bust him up now. pretty much. I mean, that shield does give him a lot of effective health, so now, you know, when his passive's up, he's gonna have 110, so he's gonna have 600 effective health instead of 640. Did I do the math on that right? 600. Wait, hold on. No. Hold on. Okay, sorry, I read that wrong. So his base health is getting nerfed by 33, but his shield is going up by 20. Okay. So his shield's actually stronger. Sorry about that. That might even be a buff, right? Because if you just activate your shield twice, which you will in the laning phase, that's more effective health. So I guess if they like all in you at like level 1 or level 2 when your like passive's not up and you've only used it once to block damage. I guess if you can poke the shield off of him without going all in, maybe. I don't know. Like it just feels because he's gonna get his shield up more than his like health, right? So he's gonna get multiple activations of that shield. So if he gets like full value out of that shield twice in the laning phase, even like 1.5 times, then that's more effective health over the course of like 5 minutes before he backs or something. The health to shield thing feels a little weird. I mean, I guess if he doesn't have his shield, he's a little more vulnerable early on. I just don't think that's going to matter that much, honestly. I feel like the shield, if they're giving him a bigger shield, that's probably better for him. But, okay. Cassiopeia, a little bit of health nerf, 15 health, sure. Taking down 2 armor to 18. God, that's so low on the armor. She's just going to get blasted by like a talon in the laning phase. Base magic resist is going up by 4. Okay, so better against mages, worse against AD picks. They're really pushing the AD champs mid. A lot. Like they've taken off a lot of resistances against AD champs on some of these mages. Okay. Okay, fine. Should be a little bit weaker. Obviously weaker against something like a talon, but otherwise okay. Fiddlesticks minion damage down from 60% to 40%. So it used to, or to 50%. So it used to be 40 a couple of patches ago, or last patch. I mean, that's fine. He's still going to be like borderline OP. I mean, it's a luxury that you can go and clear lane minions like a lot faster, and it's nice. But his win rate is like too high right now. I mean, he's just too good. So that's not really hitting a lot of why Fiddlesticks is like really strong. It's just like the cherry on top. It's like, okay, you can go clear a side wave if you need to. But like what makes him really strong is like his supreme vision control. Like if they really wanted to nerf him, a way that they could nerf him, especially at higher elos, is to make his effigies, like nerf something about the effigies. Either the length that they last or like the cooldown on them, so you can't cast it as many times. Because he gets all that free vision. He obviously has a ton of damage and a ton of CC, and the fact that he can, you know, fear multiple people with his ult is pretty massive. So, I mean, they could nerf his ult, you know, they could put 10 more seconds on his ult or something. I think that's kind of a clumsy way to do it, but either way, this is not it. It's gonna, you know, they'll probably bring him down like maybe 0.5% or something, but he's still gonna be really strong. Okay, Trundle. W movement speed, movement speed. At early ranks is going down to 20. Okay, so this is going to hurt his ganking in the early game. It starts to normalize. I guess he doesn't get all of his speed back until level 13 because you max your W second most of the time. You pretty much have to max W second now. You can't max Pillar. I know there were sometimes people were, you know, thinking about maxing Pillar every now and then. Anyways, yeah, he's a decent old nerf. He's not that much of a terror in solo queue. He's decent. He's got a positive winner. He's good, but he is very good in pro. So I think nerfing him is probably a good idea, and that's fine. So the real winner there, if people stop playing him, is gonna be stuff like Nunu, so or other tanks that he really preys on. Okay, Volibear, Q movement speed, 15%, E bonus damage. Okay, so 4% of the target's max HP. Now, the thing is, you only put 1 point in that. This is 20 base damage and 4% of the target's HP, so I haven't looked at win rates off of this, but Um, Now the Q movement speed does double, so you got to keep that in mind. So it's not just like 15% early; it's basically 30 when you're moving towards a champ. So it's pretty good. I mean, I just feel like I don't know, there's just something about him. The numbers just aren't right. I mean, they're buffing him up a little bit. Maybe the damage is going to help. It feels like it is a bit harder for him to stick to people. Like, he does have his one stun, but then after that, he doesn't have that much else. Like, I feel like the E, they need to make it to where it's like a 1 second delay or like 1.5. Like, a 2 second delay on a normal ability that's on like a 20-second cooldown or something just feels a little like a little much. They need to lower that cooldown a little bit on the E. And they need to make it just like a 1 second delay. They see it the entire time, but it's a 1 second delay. 2 seconds, even though they can only see it for 1 second. There's just not enough payoff for that. It's like an Echo, shield thing or whatever. It's like about the same time, but that's like a game-breaking thing if Echo hits that, right? It gives him just like an insane shield and a 2 second stun, right? This just like hits somebody for a slow, does a little bit of damage, and you get like, a shield off of it. It's like, okay. So I don't know. I just think the risk reward for him is just not quite right yet. Akali, Q damage is getting buffed. Why are you buffing this champion? So they're giving her better AP scaling on her Q, which is what she spams, and 5 extra damage. I mean, that doesn't feel like a ton, but it's like that champion is so dangerous to buff. I think if you're really good on Akali, you can still win on her. Like, she's always going to have a low win rate because she's really hard to play optimally, but like, why? I mean, she's already good. I don't know. Like, able to be good. I guess I should say that. So, I don't know. Fine. A little bit, when she gets her, for like her Gunblade or whatever, she'll get 5 extra AP or 5 extra damage on her Q, and then there'd be a total of 10 extra damage. I guess that's okay. Soul generation on kill is 2, going to 8.3%. I don't know. I'll have to see the official patch notes to see what that means. 8.3% attack speed to 0.35. I don't know. We'll just have to see Senna when she comes out. I think she's fine right now, so I'm not really sure why they're tinkering with her some more. Okay, Ziya, R damage is going up 125 at early by 25 damage at early ranks and 175 by later ranks. That's probably pretty good, but like, I mean, a lot of her damage is from her feathers and her recall and that. She's hard to play. She is good against divers, and there are a lot of divers out there. I mean, maybe we see some more on her. A lot of that's going to depend on Rakan too. I think Rakan is pretty good right now, if you're good on him. So, okay, that's fine. Brand mid mana restore on blazed targets goes to 10. So I think that means if you kill targets that are burning with your E, I think. Something like that. Maybe it's just any target that's on fire, you get mana back. Okay. I think Brand Middle is just not really that great in general. Like, he's very vulnerable to ganks. He's very vulnerable to assassins. I don't know. I think he's a lot better as support, but anyways, sure. Victor, Q auto attack AP ratio, 55 to 60%. Okay. Q shield ratio, 15 to 20%. Okay, that's fine. I don't think Victor's like, he's okay. So I guess buffed him up a little bit. It's probably not going to matter. Anyways, so 10 or 15 minute video turned into 30-minute video, but we'll keep it under 30. Alright, but that's going to be it for this video, so thank you very much. Be sure to stay tuned. If you have any other questions, come by the stream. If you have some cool ideas or something else that you hear about that's coming up that you want to know my thoughts on, just let me know. I did hear about sort of the changes to the structure of solo queue that they mentioned, and I guess just really quick, my thoughts on that are, I think that matchmaking's fine right now. It's just visibility is the huge problem, is that there's a 2-tier system with MMR and LP. I think ultimately they should just get rid of the LP and just show people their flat MMR and still just keep the divisions, gold 4 through gold 1, but just give them a 4-digit number and that's it. Just the fact that there's this 2-tier system just feels kind of bad, and just get rid of. I mean, they are getting rid of some of the promotion series supposedly in the preseason. I think they're going to keep the promo series between, like when you're going from like silver to gold or whatever. But if you don't have promotion series, then you could just give people the 4-digit number, and that's just where they are. And then you'd bounce around a lot more between divisions. You'd have no like demotion protection. You'd have no promotion series. So I don't know, but I think that would increase visibility, and that would bring it into line with like every other major competitive game that uses an elo system, where it's just a 4-digit number. So, anyways, I like that idea. Another thing was like being able to report in champ select. I think that's a good idea. They're just going to get data on it and just kind of see sort of what's up with that. Cracking down on trolls more, I think that's good. The big problem with sort of toxicity in League that people have talked about is this gets conflated as a bunch of different things. You know, sometimes people call it toxic if someone just has a bad game and goes 0-10, or if they're playing a champion they don't know how to play in champ select, they call that toxic. If someone says, like, you know, you suck in chat, some people call that toxic. Some people call it toxic if you just run it down middle or just AFK out of the game. So all of these things get called the same thing as toxic behavior, and they're all like very different, right? So I think that the stuff that's like game ruining behavior, where people AFK or actually run it down mid, things like that, and that should absolutely have a much stricter punishment. You know, the chatter, if someone's just berating someone else, just some general like negativity about stuff, I think that should be checked over time. I don't think someone should be insta banned, but at the same time, sometimes people just have a bad day or whatever. So, and there is like a mute feature. So as long as someone's playing to win and they just, you know, call you an idiot a couple of times in a game, I don't know. I mean, it's not great. They should probably clean that up, but I don't think they have to come down as hard. The problem with like AFK sometimes is sometimes people just have an internet problem or something. So like you can't ban somebody on the spot for AFK. And just, but the thing is, there's always going to be people that are just like first timing champs too in ranked. They're going to just int, you know, soft int, right? Where they're like 0-10, but they're, you know, they're trying. They're just not good on the champ. And maybe they're just not like fully invested in the game. They got auto filled, so they're just kind of playing around, just having a for fun game. It's like, is that really, you know, bannable? Like they're trying, but they're not doing their absolute best. So I don't know. It's a really complicated issue. I guess it's cool that Riot's trying to fix it, but I think overall matchmaking over the course of hundreds of games is like pretty solid right now. It just feels bad, and that's just because we remember negative things a lot more than we remember positive things. So we're gonna remember that person going 0-10 in our game, or like calling us, you know, names or something like that in chat a lot more than we're gonna, you know, we're gonna remember that one person rather than the other 50 people we played with that day who are perfectly fine, you know, citizens of League that are just playing and just trying to have fun, or at least just trying to win and just keeping their mouth shut. So we just always remember, you know, the small minority of toxic people in the game, I think. Because you got to remember, every game, I mean, how many, there are 9 people. I mean, you don't have access to enemy chat, but even if you look at, like, there are 5 people on your team, including you, and it's like, how many of those people, if you go back and look, are actually, like, actively being toxic? It's not, I don't personally think it's going to be that many. I mean, I know a lot of people might have a different opinion of that, but anyways, I think overall, the structural changes are fine. I think matchmaking's fine. Toxicity, you know, they need to clean up the specific game ruining behavior, but it's hard to do that in some circumstances, and I get that. But anyways, okay, well, that's gonna be it. Thank y'all very much. Have a good day, and we'll see you next time.